5 years ago, this job did not exist. Now there are almost 100 certified Notion consultants globally. Notion has around 35 million monthly active users, and there's an entire ecosystem of tools, browser extensions, and services solely around Notion. If you're wondering what it's like to be a Notion consultant, then this video is for you. Let's jump in. First off, what is Notion Consulting exactly? It may seem obvious, but it's worth clarifying what we actually do. Notion consultants take on everything from building entire workspaces for teams and companies, designing workflows, training, setting up automations. Usually it's a combination of many different things. Notion consultants also use a variety of pricing models, from charging hourly, charging by project, setting up monthly retainers. And usually it's a byproduct of the amount of experience the consultant has. So if it's somebody who's just starting out with freelancing or consulting, they might default to hourly, versus somebody with experience in, say, change management or workflow design or operations will likely be charging either by project or setting up a monthly fee. I want to get into a few critical steps to building your consulting business that have been essential for building my own business and hopefully helps you get started in a little bit more accelerated timeline. Step one is defining your target audience. The number one reason consulting businesses fail is there's no clear target audience. Notion is most widely used amongst tech startups, but now companies in industries like design, finance, real estate are starting to see the benefits of creating a company home that's super easy to customize to fit their needs. So as Notion's user base grows, there's new opportunities to own these niches, essentially being the go-to consultant for that particular target audience. As somebody who studied and worked in architecture before becoming a Notion consultant, I do think Notion is the perfect tool for small to medium-sized firms who are looking at everything from project management to creating resource libraries and sending proposals, but time will tell on that. The other big thing to consider is, at the end of the day, Notion is just a tool. It's not instantly going to solve a company's problems. That only happens by building solutions in a way that are personalized for a particular team or company and solve key pain points. More often than not, solutions come from a suite of tools, not just one. I never recommend to clients to do everything in Notion, mainly because there's always scenarios where you do need a specialized tool that is more powerful because it's focusing on solving a particular problem. Defining a target audience can be a daunting process, but really helps to just think about these three questions. First, what industry do you already have experience in or have a strong network in? Second, what industry consistently has the same workflow or productivity issues? This is definitely a good sign that they might benefit from using or adopting Notion. And lastly, does that target audience have an interest in fixing those problems? Do they have a budget to invest in bringing in a consultant to think through workflows, design workspaces, and help implement and train employees to make sure that these workspaces are sustainable and that they can manage them internally over the long run? These questions should give you a good idea of who to start targeting and also who to rule out. And if you're not entirely sure about that target audience, you may need to test the waters a little bit. So to recap, define your target audience, think through the specific problems and challenges they face, and start clarifying how your services are going to solve those problems. On to step two, give away free stuff. You might be thinking, oh, I've put a ton of work into this thing that I've made. It's perfect. And it just doesn't feel right giving it away for free. To be honest, this is very short-term thinking. Getting anyone to give you even $1 on the internet requires some level of trust. Even if you've made the best resource out there, if the trust isn't there, no one's going to buy it. Creating and giving away resources that solve specific problems does a few key things. First, it builds trust. Second, it builds your credibility by showcasing your expertise. And most importantly, it connects you with your target audience. Once you get people downloading and using your resources, now you have an email list that you can follow up with, announce new services, and hopefully convert some of them into paying clients. Now, it's always tricky defining the edge between free stuff and paid products or services, but remember, the more you give away, the more trust you're building. Step three, make a template. All it takes is one look on Gumroad or Twitter, X, to see these incredibly complicated looking dashboards. The everything operating system on sale for $97 for the next 24 hours. Please don't make an all-in-one operating system unless you just love the challenge and want to use it yourself. This is actually the opposite of what you should be doing, especially at this stage. because it's a one-size-fits-all, do-everything system that usually ends up not being a great solution for anyone. Most of my clients reach out after having downloaded one of these premium templates, only to use them, they unravel, they break, and nobody knows what to do from there. Great for me, not a good look for the people making them. If we go the opposite route of the do everything operating system in Notion, it's solving one key problem very well. Let's say our target audience is small to medium size architecture firms, say 5 to 25 employees. The template might be something like a resource library where you can organize information on materials, fixtures, furniture, things like that. Or it could be a proposal template that has all the evergreen content like previous work, mission and vision, and firm information pre-populated, saving time designing and customizing proposals. These all aim to solve one specific issue. When building any Notion resources for clients, we have to assume either they are brand new to Notion or they'll have team members that have never used Notion. This is a good criteria just to make sure that what you're building is intuitive, it's easy to navigate, and it doesn't require full training sessions to get the most out of. Remember, your free templates are also tools for educating your target audience on how Notion could help them work smarter and faster. So start small and focused, and no operating systems. Step 4, create content. The great thing about creating templates is you already have the basis for lots of different types of content, from screenshots to video tutorials to blog posts outlining why the problem that you're solving needs to be solved. I know content creation can be very overwhelming, especially for aspiring consultants or people who are just getting into the space and having to think through, what am I going to write about? What visuals am I going to create? What video content am I going to create? On top of building leads, executing on projects, and making sure that client work is at a high level. We don't have to come up with hundreds of ideas from scratch. Let's take one of the examples. Let's say we build a proposal template for small architecture firms. There's a ton of content you can make just around this one template. The most important by far is the YouTube video. I say this to everyone all the time, but video content gives prospective clients the best feel for what it's like to work with you. Think about it. You're talking to the camera, walking through how something works, and talking about the thought process around something you've built. It's almost exactly what we do with clients. But apart from video, here's just a handful of content ideas for this one template. Number 1, a blog post explaining why I created a proposal template for architecture firms. 2, how automating your proposal process will save hundreds of hours per year. 3, how to build your proposals in Notion. These are all going behind why you're solving this specific problem, how it's going to save time, how it's going to maybe increase win rate for proposals, anything that you're solving using this as an example. So the template really acts as a forcing function to creating content that's targeted and focused. Step 5, reach out to this email list regularly. You've created a template, you are creating content that is driving traffic to the template, and in the process, you're growing an email list. This goes back to why it's so important to define a clear target audience. Is if we're creating, say, a notes template, which, disclaimer, you're creating a huge email list because everybody loves the idea of super organized notes in Notion. The only problem is this is a broad group of people, and many of which are likely never to be paying clients. So every template that you make for your target audience and every email that comes from that is a technically warm-ish lead that you do need to at least share what services you're providing, what problems you're solving via those services to convert them into paying clients. We dive deep on this in the Notion Consulting Bootcamp, but some of the emails that you definitely want to be writing are the welcome email, thank you for downloading, give me feedback, I'm launching a new service, offer a free discovery call, especially if you're just getting started. These are critical and essential to just get feedback on, is there a market for your services? And then lastly, going deep on what the service is. How is it solving specific problems? Why are you the best person to hire? And what success stories have you had that you can share with that target audience? So to sum up, you've put in the work in creating the template, creating content, you have the email list, you have to foster those leads to hopefully get some of them to become paying clients. And the last key step is tracking data. One thing to note, the more targeted your audience, the lower the number of people interested in your content. That's completely okay. Building a consulting business is not about creating the biggest audience, but an audience that is engaged and sees you as an expert in your field. Don't worry about audience numbers. Just work on building resources that are helpful and useful for that target audience in order to build that trust. And even though you're looking at a smaller, more focused audience, you do want to track data on a few key metrics. First, how many people are downloading your template? This is essentially the same number as your email list when you're getting started. Second is how's engagement with your content. If you're just starting out, this will probably look low, especially if you're on LinkedIn, which can take a while for your content to get pushed to people outside of your network. That's where I'm at currently, by the way. The key here is growth over time. And next is how is your email list performing? Specifically, what's the open rate for your emails? What percentage of people are signing up to learn more about your services or booking discovery calls? And most importantly, what percentage are converting to paying clients? This seems like a lot to track if you're just getting started, but I wish I was tracking this data earlier just to see what's worked well and what needs improving. It's also worth noting it could take 3 to 6 months of consistently talking about your services, creating content, talking about the problems that you're solving before getting a clear idea if that's a viable market, which honestly is the hardest part of building a thriving consulting business, is the time it takes to really get that validation. And even then, you may find out that your target audience is actually not a good fit. It could be due to anything from them just not having the right budget, already having solutions to the problems that are maybe better, or not thinking the problem is severe enough to invest in or to hire a consultant for. But the good thing is you can experiment. If your resources and content don't resonate with your target audience, you can go back to the drawing board, explore a new target audience, and repeat the process. We may pivot 2 or 3 or 4 times before finding the right target audience. The big goal is you want to be at the top of a niche within this Notion consulting space. As the number of Notion consultants grows, there's going to be more competition, but more opportunity to service a specific industry or specific target audience just because of how new this entire space is. If you made it this far and got value from this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you're seriously considering starting a Notion consulting business, join the waitlist for our Notion Consulting Bootcamp. We are launching a self-paced version of the course that's going to be cheaper and more accessible for everyone. And just a heads up, you'll also get the Notion Consulting Playbook when it launches in a few weeks when you sign up to the waitlist. And very last thing, if you do have any lingering questions about Notion Consulting that we didn't cover, let me know in the comments. That's all for now. See you in the next one. Cheers.